it's Jean Bills, and I want to welcome you again to the Live a Life Without Limits video summit. Today we have our very special guest, Susan Preston, and Susan is here to share with us all about mindset and mindset motivation. So many times the biggest challenge is all in mindset. So I'm excited for having Susan with us here today. So welcome, Susan, welcome.
Hi, Jean. Thank you so much for having me. I am honored and excited. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm so excited to be able to share this with our people today because, like I said, I just feel like it is such an important thing for them to at least, start to understand that you do have a little bit of a mindset journey as you're becoming an entrepreneur. So, Susan, can you tell us a little bit about your story? What started your journey as an entrepreneur and how you ended up getting involved in, being a mindset coach?
Well, first of all, about 11 years ago, I left a 23-year marriage and I left the state of Connecticut and went to South Carolina and started my life over. At that time, I had maybe a thumbnail of who I was left. And then in that very moment, I remember realizing that I did not need my parents' approval, even though I loved them greatly, and vice versa. The only person's approval that I really needed was myself. So I took a lot of time to love, forgive, and heal myself. There were some challenges in that marriage, and I really grew and really embraced the person that I knew was in there, but had gotten lost. And then it wasn't until I was about 50 years old, and I remember listening to Louise Hay, and I said, I have not done what I wanted to do in my life as far as a business and everything else. And so it was then that I became a student of life and business, and I just saturated myself with reading and tours and all sorts of amazing things. And I'm now 54, and in these past 4 years, I have lived more than I had in most of my life. I live life on my terms. It's just amazing. And my business has grown, and I'm doing what I'm so passionate about.
Oh, congratulations. And it is quite a journey, isn't it? I hear that so many times that as there's life-changing moments and, as you're going in and through one of those moments, it is such a journey.
It is. It is. And it's really embracing all of us, every part of us. There's things that we may not like as much, but it's embracing it and learning to love ourselves and truly love ourselves. And that was huge because at one time I didn't even like myself nor love myself. So it's very, very sad. I look back now at a glimpse at that woman and I don't even recognize her.
Huge, huge. So what is the first step that you have to take in order to, get that mindset and embrace who you are? What was the first step you actually did?
First of all, you have to really embrace who you are and love yourself the way you are and accept yourself. And by doing this, you can look in the mirror and look in your eyes and say, I love you, Mary, just the way you are. And at first, it's going to seem really foreign. You're going to say, do what? But the more that you can do that and start giving yourself heartfelt compliments, the more that you're going to break down those walls and really see this beautiful person that you really are. And it's so important to do that.
Do you actually do that, Susan? Do you actually have, I used to have like Post-it notes on my mirror when I was going through a really tough time in my life. I used to have little Post-it notes on my mirror of things and that I wanted to change and wanted to, embrace about myself. Do you actually do that?
I do. It took me a while. I'm like, alrighty then. But the more I did it, you can really embrace who you are and really love yourself. And sometimes I'll even go by the mirror, and if I'm having a challenging time, say, "How you doing, sweetie?" And we can't give to others what we don't give to ourselves. So it's so important. But by doing that, you're really touching your soul. You're not just thinking things, you're really embracing who you are.
Now, why is it that mindset is such an important thing when it comes to, stepping into who you want to be or into your greatness? Why is that so important?
Well, first of all, if we have limiting beliefs of worthiness, that we're not worthy, that we're not good enough, all of those things will eventually come into play when you're trying to give a potential client prices, when you're trying to embrace who you are and getting yourself out on social media. All of that comes out. And so it's really important in what I teach my clients is you have to fill yourself up continually with love, joy, happiness, worthiness, self-esteem, and a biggie is forgiveness. Yeah. And why we have to forgive ourselves is somewhere along the way we might have blamed ourselves for something. And what I tell them is ask yourself, at that time that you decided or did whatever you did you do what you thought was best with what you were given, with the knowledge you were given? Did you make the best decision? And 99.9% of the time, yes, the answer is yes. So we need to forgive ourselves because we can't grow our business if we're stuck in the past. So, and I also teach, and I'll later talk about how to stay in the now. But when we can continually fill ourselves with these goodies, as I call them, what happens is, and this is huge, is we now become our own support system. We don't have to look outside of ourselves. We can tap into that support we have built into us so that whenever a loved one or a friend gives you support, it enhances what you've already given to yourself. And that is huge.
So if I'm trying to make this change so that I can grow a better business, I'm going to start with embracing who I am, doing those, self-love kind of things. And is there any other thing that I can do besides, putting something on my mirror or telling myself? Do you have any other tips that I could use at the very beginning when I feel like I want to accept, who I am or forgive myself?
Yes. What you can do is start stacking reasons why you should believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect others to believe in you. So I even tell my clients, at the end of the day, start stacking reasons of things that you did well. Instead of focusing on the things that you didn't do well, focus on the things you did. And start, anytime you have a limiting belief why you shouldn't believe in yourself, give it an opposite. And even ask your loved ones, why is it that you believe in me? And the more that you can stack reasons why you should believe in yourself, the more you're going to find that it starts to go to the other areas of your life, and your relationships are going to get stronger, not only with your loved ones, but with your potential clients and clients. Because sooner or later, if you don't have that belief in yourself, they're not going to believe in you. And so it's so important. We can't give to others what we don't give to ourselves.
Very good. Okay, so once we start stacking, we start filling our own well and trying to get our mindset in the right direction, then it really is necessary. Is it really that necessary for our business? I mean, let's say I think I'm okay now. How necessary is it that I really do this in order to grow my business? Because that's what I really want.
It's absolutely, positively important. Because if you don't have the idea that you're worthy or that you're good enough, what's going to happen is eventually, as you start to grow your business, those limiting beliefs are going to start creeping in, and eventually you're going to sabotage your success. By not feeling like you're worthy of having a successful business, eventually your clients or potential clients will even feel that. And that's a big no-no. So by filling yourself up with all the goodies, what you're doing is you're continually feeling that you are worthy to have success. You are good enough for success. And the more that you do that, you're going to see your business grow.
So a lot of it is really about keeping me in the right mindset. So it's really, the main thing then is, you know, having that right mindset all the time in order to keep my business growing. So what are the tips? I mean, then that's really the core of it. So what are the tips? What can I really consistently do to keep that right mindset?
One of the biggest things you can do is, I suggest to my clients, writing down a goal. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I now am so grateful that I have a successful mindset relationship consulting business that generates X amount a week and continues to grow. And if you write it on a big index card, or like you said, a Post-it note on the mirror, every time you have a limiting belief, start saying it. At first, your brain's going to go, do what? Because what you're doing is you're reprogramming those negative beliefs. And the more that you do it, you're going to start consistently thinking in a positive way. And sooner or later, much to your surprise, you're going to find that your business is really starting to grow, because it's also subconsciously that you're telling your mind you are already successful.
So you're keeping that, like, I know some people have actually had cards like that and they've kept them in their pocket or their wallet or whatever, and they've actually carried them with them throughout the course of the day. And when you're writing on that card, how important is it that I write, like, I know sometimes that I've heard where it's important how I actually write what I want.
Exactly. Very good point. I now give thanks for, and then at the end, I put, please make this or something better happens. Because what it is it's our job to get clear on the kind of business we want, on the life that we want. But it's not up to us to figure out the how. By doing some more exercises that we'll be talking about, what will happen is you will start to, I just lost my train of thought. Hold on. Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. I've been up since 20 or 4 this morning.
That's all right. That's all right. That'll just be that'll be out of there.
Okay. So, all right. Ask that question again and I'll take off with it.
Don't remember.
Is there something you want to write in particular on the card?
Okay, so how important is it that how I write what I want? Like, I'm going to say that's an affirmation. So how important is it that how I word my card? Let's say I decided to carry an index card in my purse, so that whenever I feel like I need to, or throughout the course of the day, 5 or 6 times throughout the course of the day, I'm going to pull out that index card and I'm going to read it and say it to myself. How important is it, and how should that actually be written?
First of all, I always start it with, I now give thanks for, and then I put it in the present tense. Because what you want to do too is your subconscious brain, your subconscious mind only listens to what you tell it. It doesn't know any different. So if you do it in the present tense, that's what it's going to believe. And then at the end, I put, please make this or something better happen. because it's our job to get clear on what we want, clear on our business, but it is not our job to figure out the how. So if you're not attached to the how, you will have that success in your business, but it may be in different ways. But let's face it, a lot of the things we've done in the past may no longer serve us or work. So by thinking outside of the box and being open, and I will give exercises in a few minutes on how to be more creative and inspired. By doing so, you're going to find that things are going to come to you that you may never have thought before. But also what's really vital is to be able to take that effective action. It's so important because you can do affirmations all day till you're blue in the face. But unless you take that inspired, effective action, you're just going to be spinning your wheels.
Okay, so I've got to start with the right mindset, and then I've got to back it up with the actual action steps. I can't just think it.
No. And a big missing component, and a lot of people have a hard time with this, is you have to get into the feeling of it already happening. Because I'm sure you've heard of your thoughts become things. Well, you can have thoughts and think things. You can say, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. But unless you can get into that feeling of what it feels like to have that abundance and be rich, or to have that successful business, you are not going to get where you need to be. So it's so vital to get into that feeling and start visualizing.
So what are some of the very specific things that we can do to help control our thoughts?
One of the things that I do consistently every day is I journal. And I journal how I want my day to go. And it's really neat because we are in control of our lives. We can, design how we want our lives to be. So by getting specific, just say you were going to be going to speak at a luncheon for women, and you wrote out how you wanted that to go. Chances are, if you get into that feeling and really stay there and don't let any negative beliefs get in the way, your speech is going to go even better than you even imagined. So by doing that and putting it in the now, as if the day has already happened, that will really propel you to have the kind of day that you want. The next thing is, I find by letting myself be, just letting yourself be. I go off throughout the day and go on my screen porch without any electronics. I unplug and I'll just sit out there, maybe with a cup of coffee, and just completely clear my mind. And what I find is, even if, and you might say, well, I don't have time. Well, yes, even if you take 5 minutes, here's the neat thing. When you come back to doing what you were doing, you're going to find you're more inspired, creative, and focused. So I do that so often. I tell my clients that having the right mindset, to me, a business coach might not agree with this, is as important as having your website, what it needs to have the information on it. Because if you don't have the right mindset, you're going to send out limiting beliefs. And yes, maybe you have the best SEO, but eventually you're going to sabotage things. Our minds are very powerful. And so we want to use that to help us to step into our greatness and embrace the life that we truly deserve and desire.
What does it look like when I'm starting to sabotage myself?
What you will find is you no longer will feel like you have control of your life. Things will start to just happen. See, when we start to get to our core peace, if you will, what happens is it doesn't mean that anything bad ever happens. And I'll tell you a little story. About 3 years ago, and it'll be 3 years, August 24th, my mom passed away. And what had happened was I was at my core at peace, and I had gotten a call that she had routine blood work and that she had leukemia. So we were supposed to go 9 hours further south to us. And I told my husband, I can't go when my mom's that much further north. So we flew the next day, and as far as she was concerned, she had a long time. So nobody knew anything differently. But we came, we helped with her chemo. We were there for her. I took her to the grocery store. So then her doctor said she responded to the chemo well. So we went home, and we were going to come back in a couple weeks. Well, within a week, I was at my new hairdresser's, and I was getting my hair done, and I got a call from my sister, and she said either it's leukemia or she has pneumonia. So I said, well, I'll take a flight and come. She said, well, let's see if it's a false alarm. Now, here's the key. My hairdresser, who I never had met until that day, said to me, my grandfather had leukemia, and he died within 2 weeks. I don't care if it's a false alarm. You need to get there. So that was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. By 6:50, my butt was in the air. The key to this story, and I'll continue with it, is I was in touch and listening to my inner gut. So the next day, my mother would have been alone when the doctor came in and told her that basically she had no time. We didn't even know if she was going to make it that night. Thanks be to God, she did make it almost 2 weeks after, but I stayed night and day, and between my sister and I, we took care of her so that it was now about her. It had never been about her. Even as a child, her life wasn't about her. And once she embraced and accepted that she was running out of time, we celebrated her life. And I remember thinking to myself and feeling like time was going slowly, which you wanted it to, was live with no regret. I was living in the now. For the first time in my life in 51 years, I remember her telling me that she loved me. The point of the story was that because I had filled myself up with all those goodies, and I was happy. I had joy. Yes, was I sad I was losing my mom? Absolutely. But had this been a few years before, or even a year and a half before, I would have probably had a breakdown. My mother was everything to me. So the point of it is things can happen, but when you're where you need to be inside, not only is that intuition, that inner nudge from your gut going to be your inner compass. Had I not listened to myself, I would have missed all that time with her. I would have never gotten that back. So then, here's the thing, I found gratitude. Gratitude that I had that time with her. And it only made the experience even more enriched. And so for that, it was a gift. It was a gift.
And so a lot of it is about how you're looking at that whole experience. Like you said, being grateful for the time that you were able to spend with her, and thanking your inner guide for helping you to get to that spot.
Yes, exactly. And so some people will say to me, because on Facebook, I am a happy person. I embrace life. I embrace who I am. But they say, you can't be happy all the time. Well, do I get upset? Do I get angry? Yes, but not very often. Because when you're filling yourself up with those things continually, and you're thinking positive thoughts, and you're not stuck in the past, and you're living in the now, a lot of the drama that we've created in the past in our life no longer exists. So you see things in a different light. And what happens is now you can really embrace your business. because you're not dealing with so much other things that are taking you away from what's important.
Very cool. Very good. So when I am trying to get in control of my thoughts, there are the things, and I'm going to, basically what I'm doing is I'm going back over, Susan, some of the things that we talked about so that we can make it very concrete for people. So when I'm trying to get control of my thoughts, I'm trying to grow my business, I'm trying to not let, negative thoughts or whatever stop me from moving forward, what are the things I'm doing? I can put, like we talked about, the Post-it notes on the mirror. I can have that index card in my pocket. I can write in a journal.
Mm-hmm.
What are there any other things that you do that help you also?
Absolutely. Also, it's good to have a prosperity journal, and you can use that same journal, but write out how you want your business to be. Get into the feeling of it. And also, too, I find that throughout the day, and I'm busy just like everybody else, I'll stop and read a page or two from my Kindle of something inspirational. And as Oprah has said, she reads something in the morning that's inspirational because it will keep you in that mode all day. So by doing that throughout the day, it keeps you where you need to be. And it sounds like, oh my goodness, I got to do all these things. But eventually they become part of your day. Also, while I'm working on the computer, I listen to really upbeat music. And I used to kid and say, I'm rocking while I tweet. But by listening to music, it really is good for our souls. And it puts you in that vibration, if you will. The more that we can do things to get us where we need to be and to stay where we need, it's so important. Other things that I do is basically I put blinders on any negative thoughts I have as well as negative people. Sometimes what's going to happen is as we grow and we're embracing who we are and we're having the success that we truly desire, other people who are not where they need to be will have a hard time with that. And in essence, sometimes we have to gently and lovingly let them go. And by doing so, you're making room to have people come into your life who will resonate with you, who have the same kind of goals. And now somebody recently asked, well, what happens if it's your family? Well, what you have to do is put gentle boundaries on your family. If they start talking about people, if they're negative, because you're in that positive state of mind anyhow, it'll be very easy for you to turn the conversation into positive. You can also ask them questions about something positive in their life because people like to talk about themselves. So what you don't want to, even for a minute, is engage in anything negative. And I find too, by saying to myself positive affirmations, I even make some up. One of my favorite ones is everything and everybody prospers me now, and I prosper everything and everybody now. Or for those who believe in God, nothing but good can come into my life because God is in charge. And so the more that you can say affirmations and they resonate with you and you can get into that feeling, the more everything that you want is going to come to you. And it can happen really quickly.
That's exciting, huh? If I'm struggling with those, getting into that feeling, it's like, I think I deserve to have a really great, successful business, but there's a part of me that is really struggling with getting into that feeling that that here and now feeling. Like you said, if I have that where I truly feel it, I just don't say it, but I truly feel it. How do I move from just saying it to truly feeling it?
what I think the more that you can say that affirmation and the more that you can write it out, and also here's some steps. If you take PayPal or you accept checks, look into your PayPal, and if you don't have any payments coming in, visualize the payments that you want. Visualize those deposits in your checking account. The more you can get into that feeling of growing your business, the more that it will happen. Does that help?
Yeah, so it's actually what you're saying is I have to really visualize the actual event happening right now.
Yes. And one of the biggest things, and I didn't really touch on it, is I have found having gratitude is amazing. You may not have your business where you want it to be, but if you can give gratitude for where you are right here and now, it opens your heart to receive even more, and things will happen faster. And I always thought I was a grateful person, and it wasn't until several months ago I realized that it was easy to be grateful when things were going good, but it's a challenge to have that gratitude when adversity gives us some life experiences. And I had to embrace that. And what I found was the more that I could give gratitude for the experiences that truly adversity did give to me, my life went soaring to that next extraordinary level. And it's so powerful because if you think of it this way, if there's a challenge, if you say to yourself, out of this, my greatest good is coming to me now. When we have gratitude and we look at things like that, guess what? We can't have fear. So the more you stay in that gratefulness, the more you're not going to be fearful. And so life will get even more amazing. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Jean, but for some of you listening and watching this, you're going to say, do what? But trust me, the more that you can embrace everything that we're talking about, you're going to say, aha, I know what they're talking about. And it's absolutely amazing. I lived my life existing for so many years. I was a puppet on a string. I thought if I did everything how everybody wants me to, that they would like me, that I would be happy. And guess what? I learned a very valuable lesson that happiness comes from inside of us. It's an inside job. We have to embrace and love ourselves and give ourselves all those goodies. And we go to relationships to give and share, whether it's on a personal basis or a professional basis. And we can't do that on a regular basis if we're not giving to ourselves first. And that is so powerful.
I'm going to step back a little bit. And so, because I think gratitude is so very, very important. And a lot of times people are thinking, well, what do I have to be grateful for? And how do I be grateful? And there are so many things that sometimes we just take for granted that we have, especially, in the modern world, to be grateful for, that a lot of times we just take them for granted. So what do you do to remind yourself to be grateful? Or what do you do that really fills that grateful, spot?
Well, what will happen, I'll tell you a funny story. A few years back, when I was really embracing the positive mindset, I must have gotten up on the wrong side of the bed. And so I was going in the house and my husband said, take yourself and your negative attitude inside, please. And so I began thinking, oh my goodness, how negative I am. So I jumped in the shower, and the shower is the greatest place to have gratitude for. I started being thankful for the hot water, for having, my nice hair products, for having the warm, fluffy towels, for having electricity so that I can see as I was getting out of the shower. And every once in a while, I would do that if I needed to get in check with my gratitude. But also now it just becomes second nature. And two, you can have a gratitude journal. Pull out anytime you need to get grateful, what you're grateful for, and just start writing it out. And you're going to find that the more that you do it, the more you didn't even realize how much you have to be grateful for. Also, by giving appreciation and giving gratitude for the people in our life. It's those little things, and the more that you can do it, I always say, instead of counting sheep as you lie in bed to fall asleep, count your blessings. And the more that you can do it, the more that you'll have to be grateful for.
Yeah, and I think we don't really realize that we, many of us may be struggling, but there is a lot to be grateful for. There were, a lot of people that have no food on their plate, and we do. In the United States, most of us have food on our plate. Most of us are in a home. Most of us have a computer, and the list. Because I remember somebody saying, "Well, what do I have to be grateful for?" And I thought those were the things I thought to myself. He had a healthy family. He had healthy children. He was struggling with his own health, but he had a home, a computer, a car. He had so many things that, all around the world, people would have said to him, like, "Are you kidding? What do you not have to be grateful for?" So, sometimes we forget and take for granted, like you said, that we have electricity, that we have hot water, that we have, a towel, so much. And the more you are grateful, the easier it is to remember that those are all things that you can be grateful for.
Absolutely. And the more that you give gratitude, the faster things are going to happen because you already appreciate what you have.
It's a way of having a positive mindset, isn't it?
It most certainly is. Absolutely. And another thing I wanted to add is, if you wake up one morning and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, today is not going to be a good day," you can change that in a thought. It's just a thought away. Just like if you were adopting that healthy lifestyle, and maybe you ate something that you shouldn't have eaten the night before. Well, guess what? You can start by eating healthy. You don't have to continue down that spiral. So the same goes with your thinking. It doesn't have to be that you're going to have a lousy day. By just getting into that gratitude in all of the things that we talked about, your day can go amazing. Even stopping and saying, I'm going to stop and write how I want my day to go. And it's just such a better way. And I never look back on, "Oh my goodness, I wish I had known this many years ago," because I have to be grateful that I have learned it. And now I'm teaching.
How exciting. So I'm going to change us up a little bit. So tell me, what has been your biggest obstacle to being an entrepreneur?
I think in terms of what? Can you be more specific?
Any obstacle. What has been your biggest obstacle? My biggest obstacle definitely has been my mindset. And that's why I was so excited to talk about it today, because when I first started as an entrepreneur, I definitely got into the overwhelm and all those things. And it was because I was trying so hard to learn all the tasks of being an entrepreneur, how to have the best blog, or, how to put up a, whatever, how to, write an article, or how to do a video. I got, and all those things were new tasks that I was learning. But the biggest obstacle was definitely my own inner voice that said to me that, "Jean Marie, why do you think that somebody would want to listen to you? Or what do you think you have to offer? Or, you know, why do you think somebody would buy what you want or have, or, you know what I mean, to offer? Who do you think you are? Was basically my biggest obstacle, was overcoming that voice that said that to me all the time.
Mm-hmm. And I too at one time had those same limiting beliefs. But as we look at them and get rid of those beliefs, a limiting belief could be that it could be something that never was true. It could be somebody's opinion of something. A teacher might have told us one time that you're never going to be successful. By looking at a limiting belief, this is how I overcame it, was it no longer serves me. It has no purpose. And so then you replace it with something that is true. And I can serve others. I have a lot to teach. I'm passionate about helping others to grow their mindset so they can grow their business. So the more that I found I did that, the more that I grew my business. But here's the thing. It doesn't, by adopting a positive mindset, you're going to find that creativity and inspiration and being focused is going to be a lot more than it normally would, instead of the frustrations. Because when you're allowing yourself to be and do all of the things we talked about, what happens is you're actually learning how to work smarter than harder. Because you're not banging your head up against the wall and saying, well, maybe this isn't right or that isn't right. You just know, and it's okay. And I had to learn that. It took me a long time to even write a blog post. And now I just embrace it. And I think the more accepting of ourselves we are, the less critical of our work that we are.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. So, can you summarize some of what we talked about today? So, I'm a brand new entrepreneur, and I'm walking away today. What is my take-home message? What do I actually start doing in order to shift my mindset, in order to help me grow my business with the right mindset?
First of all, you have to believe in yourself. And by filling yourself up with those goodies and really embracing and loving and forgiving yourself. And that is so important to be able to step into your greatness. The next thing is to start stacking reasons why you're worthy to have a successful business. And part of that can be with the affirmation that is your goal. And next, the more that you can get into the feeling of what it's like to have that success, what is it going to mean to you and your family, the more you can do that, the more that you are going to have that success much quicker.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much, Susan, for all your tips, your helps, your strategies. Is there anything else that you want to share with us today?
I would love for all of you watching this to connect with me on my Facebook business page. It's Susan Can Help Me Today, as well as I'm on Twitter, Susan Preston. And also for my personal profile, I'm up to past my limit on my friends, but I do some fun things on my personal profile. So you can always subscribe, and that's Susan Preston from Somerville, South Carolina. And most importantly, believe in yourself, embrace who you are, and step into your greatness because you deserve it.
Yeah, we do deserve it, don't we? Everybody deserves it, and a lot of times that's a part of it too, is that you feel like you just don't deserve it, and they absolutely do.
Yes. And thank you so much for having me. I am so honored and blessed to be.
Thank you, Susan, very much for sharing with us. And I know that it'll make a big difference to people today. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, all right, everybody. Bye bye, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.